Okay, here we are. It's episode number 142 of the Cozy Corner of Cinema, being recorded on Wednesday, December 18th, 2024 at 9:13 p.m. We are reaching the end of the month. Actually, we're probably about at the midway point. Let me rephrase that. We're reaching the end of the year, and that means there's so much to get accomplished in this next week and a quarter, week and a half, whatever. There are so many films to watch for the various lists that we plan to make. Any of us, films to recommend. There's so much to read. There's so much to accomplish before the end of the year. The question is, will all of us be able to achieve these feats before the clock strikes midnight and we are blessed with another year? And that will be up for us to figure out whether we have the time, the endurance, the motive to get done what we need to get done. It's a perfect time for reflection on the past year, but we will do that more in the coming episodes. Probably more so in the second to next episode. Not the next one, but the one after that one will be the last one of the month and of the year. Christmas is next week. I hope you all have been doing your holiday shopping, thinking of your loved ones, thinking of the time that will be spent. I'm sure a lot of us, including myself, have time off of work, so it's a wonderful opportunity to use the time that's given to us to work on whatever it is we need to work on. I don't believe in this free time nonsense. There's no such thing as free time. There's just time, man. It's all about what we do with it. Some days we have more of an ability to achieve more. In other days, we are just so behind, and it's just the idea of getting something accomplished that we need to, a piece of writing, a piece of art that we need to create, it's just not going to happen. So it's going to be just completely wonderful to get that done. I already have plans for that time that I will not be at work to get stuff done. That's going to be completely great. And of course, as well, watching plenty of films, getting in more of the 2024 films before the end of the month. I have been on quite a streak this past week or two of catching up on 2024 films. Some theatrical. Those I can't really control. I can only see them when they release, and some that are available at home, either to stream or to rent, that I have to watch at my own availability. Some have been good, some have been not so good. Some are some of my favorites of the year. Others are fine in their own right, and others are just not very good at all. I have not actually seen a whole lot of bad 2024 films as of late. I mean, bad in the sense of films where I'm like, boy, there was just really not much to get from this. There's been a couple, but those aren't egregious enough for me to even kind of reflect on that much. You know, truthfully, this year I haven't seen that many truly bad films. Some of the films that I see people really kind of dog on in the general kind of mass, I kind of have to scratch my head. I'm thinking, man, I've seen a couple of real stinkers this year that I look and I've gotten great reviews. I've gotten high ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, and people, you know, enjoy them. And that's great. You're getting something out of it that I don't, and I would never try to talk somebody out of disliking something that I like. But when I see some films labeled worst of the year, you know, I really kind of have to scratch my head. I've seen some true stinkers this year. Not a whole lot. I mean, I've seen plenty of films that were not so great. In fact, I saw a film last night that I definitely did not like. But was it one of the worst of the year? No, it was just a film I didn't like. It just didn't work for me. I've only seen maybe a handful where I went, boy, this is one of the worst films I've seen this year. And those films I'm not going to mention because I'm not going to steer anybody from wanting to watch said films. So even if someone is saying, hey man, I want to watch this film, and like say I really don't like it, I'm still going to say, yeah, you should watch it. If it interests you, then you should make an effort to go see it, to stream it, to go to the theater to watch it, whatever it is you got to do, because you may get something out of it that I didn't. Or you may not like it. That's up for you to decide. There have been plenty of films this year that I have enjoyed that did not get the most positive of reception. Not that I'm looking at that. It's more so kind of when you're talking to acquaintances who are interested in film as well. Oftentimes information will get passed along. I truly do not have any interest in if I look at my favorites of the year, I don't care which films were better received than others. I'm not interested in that at all. I'm only interested in what my acquaintances have to say about it, because I know and respect their opinion, and I have some context as to where they're coming from. If they're not a fan of musicals, maybe, and they like a musical, and I'm gonna be like, oh wow, okay, that's something worth noting. This is something worth watching. Or if maybe they love action movies and they really rate this action movie high, I'm gonna go, well, all right, you like a lot of action films, so it's all about context. I have no interest or need to kind of go online and see what disembodied text has to say. I'm not reading Joe Schmo's reviews. I'm just seeing the films that pique my interest. And actually, the only kind of incentive I have to go see it. Of course, recommendations from acquaintances are wonderful as well. But with that said, I don't know if I want to talk about a couple 2024 movies or if I want to go into my main kind of thing. But maybe I'll talk about briefly. I guess I'll talk about it really quickly. I'm not going to go too long into these, but I did want to mention just two recent films, 2024 films I have seen theatrically that have been two of my very favorite films of the year so far. And let me just pull this up here. Okay, the first of which is a film from writer-director Gintz how do I say this name? Zilbalodis, and also co-written by Mattis Kaza. The animated film Flow, surprisingly enough, I think it was distributed by Yanis Films, so fingers crossed we can get a Yanis Films Blu-ray out of this. I've really been enjoying their line of titles. I've bought a couple so far. I've bought EO, A Fire, The Innocent. I didn't buy Anselm. I don't know why I didn't. Funny, I actually think I had that in my hand at one point, and I put it back. I should have bought that, but maybe next time. But Flow is just a wonderful, wonderful film. It is a film without dialogue, and that's going to come into play, which is something that I say after the fact, but it is without dialogue. It follows these group of animals, specifically this cat, living in a world without humans. It's very ambiguous what exactly the situation is here. There are statues of cats all around, these great kind of monolithic statues that someone had to have made. I don't think the cats are going to be making it, man. The only thing they're concerned about is where they're going to eat and where they're going to sleep next. But one day a flood comes through, and the cat is left on a journey of its own to meet up with other animals and try to traverse the treacherous landscape on water. And the reason why I say it's important to not have dialogue in a film like this is a film that I saw this year, which I did like, but the entire time it was reminding me of another film. And it's a film called The Wild Robot, which I had seen theatrically, and it was a very enjoyable film. There are some solid jokes in the film. There's a great running joke about the robot in question giving out these stickers. It gets very funny. Good voice acting, good voice performances. The lead by Lupita Nyong'o, who also did very well in A Quiet Place Day One. Two films that in The Wild Robot that I'm not totally enamored with, or I should say not enamored with. I totally would imply there's some enamoring, but there is none to either. But she has given two very good performances this year. But my main problem, well, one of my main problems with that film, is I'm sitting there in the cinema and I'm thinking, man, if this film had no dialogue, this would be so much better. And I kept thinking back to another animated film I watched this year that also had no dialogue that I've talked about before, and that was called Robot Dreams. And between Robot Dreams and Flow, I think part of the reason why I had such a strong emotional reaction to both these films, not solely for the surface level of, okay, Robot Dreams follows a dog, Flow follows a cat. Now, the dog in Robot Dreams is far more human-like, whereas the cat in Flow is more like a cat. And for the sake of Flow, I think it's very easy to kind of manipulate the audience, where you're showing animals in distress, so it's easy to kind of pull on your emotions like that. But neither film, the Flow does not do that. And Robot Dreams doesn't do that either, even though Robot Dreams is far more lighthearted. But it's solely that there is no dialogue to get in the way of the story. You're not limiting this to just a kiddie sort of film. You are now allowing this to be. I mean, when Flow and Robot Dreams could have been made anywhere in the world, and it wouldn't have mattered because it has the universal language of just seeing this animation, seeing the facial expressions, musical numbers, how the characters react to one another. That in The Wild Robot hurt it for me, where the dialogue at times was getting in the way and often had to explain the film to the audience. Now, that's a different kind of film. That's a studio film. I don't know if that was DreamWorks or what. Flow and Robot Dreams are far more low-key, so I understand that maybe for a major studio it would be tricky to release a film like that without any dialogue. But I think that the emotional stake for me, and I can only speak for myself, I had no emotional investment in that film, whereas with these two, especially with Flow, it was an incredibly emotional time. And when I say emotional, I don't solely mean I'm crying or anything like that, but I mean more so that I'm far more engaged with the characters in the film because I am putting I am just allowing the movements, the facial expressions, the actions of the characters sort of dictate how profound or how not profound it will be. I mean, there are times in the film where, even though they may have at times more human sort of qualities. For example, there's one point where they make a conscious effort to work together to achieve a task of pulling this rope that if you're solely going by a realistic portrayal of these animals would not happen. But because we don't need dialogue that's saying, oh, give me the rope, I'll help you out, you are doing far more. And one of the scenes in it that really stuck out to me in terms of the benefit of not having any dialogue, and it's no spoiler, so I'll be very vague as possible, but basically when one of the animals gets separated and comes into contact with another species of an animal they're looking for, and it ends up not being that animal that they're looking for, I'm trying to be very vague here. In a traditional film, that character would say, oh, I'm not, Bob, I'm not Bob that you're looking for, I'm looking for Bob, I'm not Bob. This film is able to convey that without dialogue and is able to really kind of where the film goes to there, it feels far more rewarding, and you feel far more for it because you have that sort of piecing together of just, wait a minute, we don't have to dumb down the script to appeal to a wider audience. I think Flow is just one of the very, very best films I've seen this year. When I was sitting there in the theater and I was watching, I said, if this film ends right now, this is all, like, you will have perfected this, and like there isn't a beat missed. And wouldn't you believe it? Right as I thought that, the credits came up. It ends at the perfect moment. It's 85 minutes, and it's one of the best films I've seen this year. It's one of the best films of recent memory. Undoubtedly, it's the best animated film of recent memory. This and Robot Dreams are the two animated films I would say that I have got the most out of in the past couple of years. Now, granted, I'm not going out of my way to watch a lot of animated films, more so that a lot of the ones that get released that I'm aware of are not of interest to me. But this film and Robot Dreams are two definite highlights of the year. Now, Robot Dreams, I guess, is technically 2023, but I put it together on my favorites of the year list solely because it wasn't released theatrically in the United States until, gosh, I think July or August. So I'm not even worried about trying to count that. Actually, may have even been earlier. I really don't know. Actually, maybe it was May or June. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Wonderful films. Flow, keep an eye out on it. It's a brilliant film. I loved it. I don't have a single issue with it. I'm not giving arbitrary ratings, but let's just say I would have given it the highest of rating. And another great film that I saw in the past week, another film that I had I was curious about. I shouldn't say high hopes. I have no expectations. And was taken aback by how much I got out of it, is a new film directed by Luca Guadagnino and also written by Justin Kuritzkis? How do you say his name? Based on the William Burroughs novel, which is Queer, starring Daniel Craig. And because it's based off of William S. Burroughs' novel, I don't think it's already going to be a divisive film, because I think one of the things that the film is seemingly not, or I should say intentionally seemingly intentionally not selling itself, is because it is an adaptation of a Burroughs novel, it takes a lot of steps out of reality into states of hallucinations, states of mental mind games, or the film taking a non-traditional narrative approach and going off and doing a long sequence somewhere else at a different point. More so where it feels like a different film, and not necessarily as a bad thing. I think I enjoyed this more as an adaptation of a William Burroughs work rather than a Luca Guadagnino film. Luca Guadagnino is an interesting filmmaker. He's a filmmaker who I think I like more than I like his films. But I've noticed that over time I've actually enjoyed his films, or have appreciated his films as they've gone on. I haven't seen all of his work, but he's somebody who in the past couple of years has gotten a lot of attention, or has got a lot of attention, I should say. Because often something I say is gotten, when I mean to say got. But he has got a lot of attention in the past couple of years. I haven't seen some of his work. I remember when I Am Love came out in 2009 with Tilda Swinton. That received a lot of attention at the time, which I hadn't seen. I haven't seen the protagonists of his recent work. I think I've seen some of the films that have gotten. There we go again, saying have got more attention. So I did see Call Me by Your Name, which I wasn't a fan of. I didn't see his remake of Suspiria. I did see Bones and All, which I was not the biggest fan of, but I liked it well enough. I saw Challengers, which I did like. It was a well done, well written drama, a menage a trois, with two solid, great performances. Well, this is a first. My microphone got cut off. I plugged it back in. It was recording at first. I closed out the tab, opened it back up, and saw that the last 12 minutes that I had just recorded had not recorded. I have basically been talking into a dead microphone for the past 12 minutes, and that is a shame, and I am not going to re-record it because I am just going to be repeating myself, and it is not worth it at this point. So this will be a shorter episode. This will be a 20-minute episode, and perhaps some of the details that I went into with Queer I will get into next time. So until then, thank you guys so much for listening. I apologize for the short episode, and I will be back next time. Thank you, God bless, and good night.